Today we are going to be going over lists in Python. Most reasons why people use lists is to store multiple pieces of data. So, for example, if you want to store 4 pieces of data, you need to have 4 variables. Variable 1, variable 2, variable 3, variable 4. But if you used a list instead, you could have all 4 of those variables on the same line, as long as you assign a list and separate them within the list. You can call upon lists differently to strings and variables, and you add to them differently. Instead of it just being standard, there's specific commands. You set up lists by either doing whatever you want the name of the list to be, equals, then the square brackets, or whatever you want your list to be called, equals, list, round brackets. The reason why you do this is because the square brackets denote a list if there's no variable behind that, because then it's indexing. The round brackets denote anything, but since you're saying it's a list boolean beforehand, it recognizes it as a list, just as the square brackets. You can store your pieces of data within a list by having the piece of data, then a comma, then another piece of data, rinse and repeat until you have all the pieces of data that you want. I'm going to use the example of 1, 3, 5. That way we can see 3 pieces of data. Yes, all integer, but it really doesn't matter what kind of data you put in there. The reasons why we may use a list would be for, imagine dates. You might have a dentist appointment on the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th. A list will be able to store that kind of data. But it's also good for just shortening down a bunch of variables into one line of code rather than having like 5 lines of code for them all. One unfortunate thing about printing a whole list in one is that you will keep the commas, the square brackets, the speech marks, all of the punctuation for the list. You can counteract this by printing out individual things, but there isn't really counteracting it. The way you would print out individual things is through indexing. So you would have the name of your list, square bracket, and then the spot in the list you would -1. So to get the first number, you'd put 0. To get the second number, you'd put 1. That is because it works similar to for loops, where they want to stop 1 before. Thank you to you all for watching. I really do hope you learned something. Please have a good rest of your day or afternoon, whichever one it is.